We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for urban myths. Hush now, city kids. When it came to me after so long, I didn't have no choices in the streets where I was from. When I think about the pain, I didn't have no choices. I took what I had sworn. Hush now, city kids, gather round for urban myths. Hush now, city kids. But you know, the wouldn't let you have it any other way.
Good evening and welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is the fans forum and it is a pre-recorded show. Don't worry, we're all wearing the same clothes as last week because it is still last week as we record this show. But I'm away, having a few days off, so I decided to pre-record this show and come up with a couple of topics which are a little bit different to what we would normally talk about on the fans forum, and it gets the lads a chance to maybe express their opinions on different matters. And last week, you might remember, we were talking about centre forwards. We were talking about goals scored, and obviously Callum Wilson had managed to equal Peter Beardsley in the all-time Premiership goal scorers, going into second place with Peter, but Alan Shearer, of course, away out in front. Well, in fact, prior to the Premier League, yes, millennials, there was football before the Premier League. There were a lot of goal scorers who scored a lot of goals and a lot more goals than Callum Wilson and Peter Beardsley. Alan Shearer, of course, tops the table on 206. Jackie Milburn was in second place on 201. Len White, of course, somebody who doesn't get the praise he should get, 153. Hughie Gallagher, wee Hughie, 143 goals. And Malcolm MacDonald, of course, who is a regular on our Thursday night show, 121 goals. Peter Beardsley is still in sixth. He's got 121 goals, equal with Supermac. And then Bobby Mitchell, who a few of the lads hadn't even heard of, who was, of course, a wonderful, wonderful player in our history, 113 goals. Outside of the 100 club comes Pop Robson. Surprised me that. I thought he'd scored 100 goals, but he'd only scored 97. George Robledo tells you what a great player he was. He was on 91. Shola Amiobi, again, probably a surprise, but one who a lot of people will remember is in the top 10. He is 10th, 79 goals. You've then got a few players who we've never heard of, unless you're really a big historian of Newcastle. Jack Smith, 1915, was when he was born. 73 goals he scored for the club. Vic Keeble, met Vic a couple of times before he passed away. Lovely, lovely guy. 69 goals. Andy Cole, I interviewed Andy last week, and that'll be an interview that will be available on the channel later on this year. 68 goals Andy scored in 84 appearances. Fantastic, that. What a strike rate. Jimmy Boyd, 217 appearances, 64 goals. Mick Quinn, of course, very popular on Tyneside back in the late 80s. He scored 63 goals. And then you've got John Tudor, 57 goals. Tommy Lang, 57. Rob Lee, 56 from midfield, an amazing contribution to the club. That Billy Cairns, 53, Tom McDonald, 53, and the last few, Wyn Davies, 53, the mighty Wyn, Jimmy Richardson, 52 goals. Chris Waddle, another surprise, in at 23, 52 goals. Tommy Pearson on 24, and Barry Thomas, Tommy Pearson on 52, sorry, and Barry Thomas on 50. I'll leave it at that. That's your top 25. Some amazing names, some you'll have heard of, some you won't have heard of. A proper trip down memory lane. Why am I reading those out? Well, Alexander Isak has had a great season. A great season and a half, really, if you look back to when he arrived at the club last year. He hit the ground running in the Premier League. He's never looked back. Currently, at the time of recording the show, sitting on 19 goals. Hopefully, he's managed to get a couple of Burnley as well. Not too far behind the Premier League goal scorers, chasing the Golden Boot this season. The first question I'm going to ask the panel, Sam, is he one of the best strikers we've seen at the club? And has he, if he stayed at the club, the potential of beating a few of those records in front of him that he set by the likes of Shearer?
Well, they say he's one of the best. It's a bit, it's only his second season. I think you can only judge that if a player leaves or if he stays and retires, and then you look back in his career and say, yeah. But I think he's got every chance of being that if he stays here. That's the big if he stays, because we want to see him at Newcastle. We want to see him break records and score goals and put the ball in the back of the net at St James's Park and away from home in the black and white shirt, because that's what we want. We love a goal scorer, and I can't remember a player that we've had for a long time that's this good. It's the frightening thing is he's only going to get better when we get better players around him. And I think he's got every chance of breaking some of them records, as I've just said, when better players come in with him. He's got Anthony going now on the left-hand side, who top-notch. Bruno, top-notch. When we get that right winger, he'll be a top-notch right winger. We'll get very good squad players to help him as well. I think when we get a bigger squad, we can rotate him as well and give him a rest when he needs it. I mean, we know he's been culpable for the injuries in these 2 years he's been here, so we can rotate, which will help him even more so to keep him fresh for certain games. And I think when we get consistently in a European basis, you'll see him flourish in the Europa League. When we'll eventually get back to the Champions League, the world's his oyster, I think, and it's remarkable to think that he's playing for us. I mean, 2 years ago, could you imagine before the takeover that you would say that Alexander Isak would be our striker and you'd be back putting the ball away like it's going out of fashion? It's in the short space of time, what we've done to get him in was, whether that was a Ashworth signing or what, we don't know. But, it's great that we've got him. It smacks beggars belief how teams like Arsenal, Man City to an extent, Chelsea, Liverpool, all them strikers who were desperate for a striker didn't take a chance on him, and we did, and it's proved fruitless because he's never looked back. It's scary to think he's only going to get better because he's only really a kid. He's still a young lad, and he's still learning the league. He's still learning the language. He's still learning a lot about his game, and I think he can muscle up a bit as well and be a bit more physical. And he's got frightening pace. It's just like when he puts the afterburners on, it's Usain Bolt over the 100 meters. Really, no one's going to catch him. And like I've said, though, I still think he's a winger. I still think he's better out on the wing, and I think we might see even better when we've got a natural striker up front and he's out doing what he wants, drifting on the left, drifting on the right. Excuse me, but to answer your questions, yes, he's going to be up there. But again, I'll say it again, if he stays long term, and I think he's got a very, very good chance of breaking them records given the crop of players that we want to sign in the direction of the football club wants to go.
Yeah, £63 million were paid for Alexander Isak. That's a snip. Alan, thoughts on Alexander Isak? Then where did he rank? Where does he rate? I've read out some great names there, Alan. On that list of goal scorers that we've had, and where does he rank for you?
Well, he's going to be up there, like Chip has said. I mean, we can't really judge, but he's just sheer class, isn't he? I mean, just like Chip has said, 3 years ago, we couldn't sell our players in a car boots here. Now he's valued at 100 million. And Arsenal are out wanting him. Man United want him. All the top clubs want him. That shows you that there's something about him that other teams lacking. They're all wanting strikers. And let's hope he stays, because we shouldn't sell him for any price, no matter what, because you can't get natural goal scorers like he did. He, as much as Dan Burns saved with, that first goal against Sheffield United made with go back in the game. He took it so calmly and he made it look so easy. It wasn't true. So, answer your question, Steve. It's a loaded question in the sense that every year, 3-4 years, yes, he'll be one of our all-time greats. Just like Bruno is to me, but if Bruno stays another 2 years, he'll be a legend, because we all know players of this ilk will eventually go. But we want the best years at this club, as well as Bruno, to stay at this club. And if he does, he will be, like Chipper says, he's nearly as quick as me. And really, he's really fast. And I think he'll be a legend at the club if he stays 3-4 years, without a doubt. But at the minute, it's too early to tell. But he's certainly worth a mention so far. He reminds me a lot, like you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, Steve, a Luke Remy. But yeah, he's better again.
Okay, Spenny, you've seen quite a few of those on the list over the years. Which where does Alexander Isak rate?
I think about 5th or 6th, to be honest. He's going by what Chipper was saying about the winger, he likes him on the wing. He's a new age striker, the new age striker of this day and age now, compared to the past we had. When we all grew up, we want to be Kenny Dalglish or Ian Rush or etc. And George Italia, Jackie Milburn, and obviously Alan Shearer. Them players, now it's Messi and Ronaldo. They're dominating the footballing world now, and all the players want to be them. Mm-hmm. So it's a different scenario of striker now. But yes, Isak, he's the boy for us at the moment. We can keep him fit for a full season. That's the problem. He's in and out the season. That's the only problem he's got at the moment. We get a full season out of him, flipping heck. What can we expect then? 30 goals, 40 goals? Mm-hmm. Could be there. You never know. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's exciting times. Yes, Isak's tip-top. He could be top 5, top 6 for me. I always put Shearer at first for me, what I've seen. And obviously the rest, Mickey Quinn was brilliant as well for a striker. Hell of a striker. Les Ferdinand's got to be up there for me as well. Andy Cole. Your whole Newcastle top 10, you've got to bring Milburn and all the Georges here at the end of the, you know what I mean? But like I said, generations change over football. And this generation's changed the way the new age striker is, and Isak's a new age striker.
Well said, Spenny. Well said.
Yeah, I've got to be perfectly honest. I mean, you know, I've seen some great strikers in my time at Newcastle. You know, and some of them don't get the credit that they should have got, but he is unique, and he's as close to Loic Remy that I can remember. But he's very, very similar to Thierry Henry, and I saw Thierry Henry play a lot for Arsenal against us, and it's the movement and it's the football and brain he's got in the way that he finishes. But yeah, a lot of good points there, Spenny. Darren, where does he rate for you? I mean, surprising on that list, Les Ferdinand. Sir Les isn't on that list, so obviously it's league goals only. Obviously, we do, you know, FA Cup and League Cup and European, of course, you know, get added on to final totals, but just league goals that, you know, 206, of course, Alan's top, but Les isn't even in the 25. Where do you think Alexander Isak comes in, Darren?
I think Parrot hit the nail on the head. It's still early doors on him, you know. Yes, he's had a fantastic season, but can he do it consistently when we get new players? So he's on the way of being a world-class player for Newcastle, and he's got the potential of it. Like Spenny said, he can get more goals, but he needs to stay fit and play regular. But I wouldn't say he should be top 5, top 6. We top 3. It's Shearer, Ferdinand, and Peter Beardsley. I don't care. That's my favourite 3 strikers I've seen in my eyes, and who I've seen play in my era. That'll take.
Okay, we've lost Darren there. We'll come back to him when he comes back. Kevin, where does he stand for you? We lost you there, Darren. I'll bring you back in once Kevin spoke.
Excuse me. He's up there. And I go along with the Loic Remy and the Thierry Henry, but he's got the touch of a Patrick Kluivert. In my opinion, he's got that intelligence. He's got that movement that you can't teach, but he's got that IQ of not yet a world-class footballer. You could play him anywhere across that front line and he'll dominate. He'll dominate in a 1v1 on a dribble. He'll get you goals as a number 9. He can do multiple facets. Like Spenny said, he's the modern day centre forward. Yes, I deal with I want to be Ronaldo, I want to be Messi. So I try to deviate from all that and send them into other players to watch them, because Ronaldo and Messi played in great teams, so they're always going to score goals. So it's a false argument for them. So I try to push them into other directions of watching other players. His movement for the first goal on against Sheffield United was brilliant. He went off, he drifted offside, and then he recycled his run for that ball from Jacob Murphy to score one touch across the goalkeeper, and the keeper didn't even move. You can't teach that. That's just natural goal scoring instinct. However, one negative, if you want to call it, is his hold-up play. His build is different. So we have to negate how we play as a team to bring the best out of him. He'll drop in deep as a false 9 and allow other players to run in behind, and he'll bring players into play in different ways. But again, if he stays fit, like the other lads have said, if he stays fit, the word ceiling is used a lot. He has no ceiling. It could go absolutely crazy if he continues the form that he's on. And every time he gets the ball inside the 18-yard box, the touches, the feet, the awareness that he has. Yes, sometimes it doesn't come off, but again, it's all up here. It's all in his mental mindset of, I'm going to create. I'm going to get something out of this opportunity. I'm going to create something out of nothing, or bring something in players into play. So again, if he trends, as a modern day phrase, if he trends the right way, he could be. We're not touching Alan Shearer. We're not touching the greats of the club, based on longevity, because I don't think he's going to stay for 10 years and whatever it is. But if he continues on this trend, he could be one of our potential greatest acquisitions that we've ever made as a whole, across the midfield or whatever position you chuck him in. He'll play there and he'll do a job for you. But I think he's an all-round footballer versus just a specific striker. So if he like I said, continues on the trend, he could be one of the best £63 million ever spent for the club.
Okay, Darren, we lost you there, mate. Your internet went off, so we didn't quite get your views on Isak. So if you want to give us them again, mate, that would be great.
Sorry about that, Steve.
Sorry.
Isak's he's in my top 5, but it'll take a lot to get in my top 3. But he's got true potential to get there, but he needs to hopefully for a good bit longer. Hopefully he is, and get better players to play alongside him, and he needs to keep fit. But the way he's going, it's going strong, and he just keeps going goals. But it's how he does next year. Can he do the same consistency? That's that's when we'll know how good he can be for Newcastle. So he's in my top 5.
Okay, top 5. Ian, where's he on your list then?
He's in my top 5 now. Just going back to what Spenny said, I think Spenny hit the nail on the head, but he didn't say one word what I would have said. Spenny was talking about strikers. I think Spenny said he's a new breed of striker. He's a forward. That's what we call him now, isn't it? You know what I mean? He can play number 9. He's played in a number 10 a few seasons ago when the first time, I think, that Callum came on and played up top, and he dropped behind him and dropped into that number 10, and he was excellent, and we won the game off that. He can play left and he can play right. I honestly would say right now, I think he is world class now. I know people are saying they don't think he's quite there. I do. I think he is. I think. Do you know what it is? When I see him, when he gets the ball, I'm surprised when he misses. And I've not seen a striker since I've supported Newcastle United since Shearer where I'm surprised when they don't score. That's how good I think he is. You know, it's hard to put him up against the likes of Shearer, Ferdinand, and you know, Beardsley and a lot of the other strikers that we've had in the past, because he is different. But for me, if he stayed with us for, put it this way, if he stayed with us for another 5 seasons, he would be pushing up there like with Shearer's goals, I'm telling you. And I've got a little feeling, and I might be deluded here, and I probably am because I am. But
we all are. Yeah, we all are.
I feel like if we keep the feeling that we've got at the club at the moment, the likes of Isak, they want to be in Newcastle. They want to play in Newcastle. Yeah. Bruno, he wants to be in Newcastle. You know, when he picked that flag up, when he picked the corner flag up, I swear I nearly swore then, sorry. I swear on the life, when he picked that flag up, I literally had tears in my eyes, and I was like, I went to Emily, I
remember there's so much Ian of Metz and Tino Asprilla. Asprilla done exactly the same. I was right in front of Tino when he done that. I was laughing for a fortnight.
Do you think he looked at that? Do you think he's, because they do get a video about the history when they signed for the club? Do you think that's been something they've been aware of?
Yeah, possibly. I think people don't give, jumping on to Bruno, I think that people don't give Bruno the credit that he's due for his intelligence and how much he's put into being in Newcastle. The kid came over here, he could hardly speak English. He speaks better English than Spenny now. You know what I mean? Certainly up there with
is that with or with all with false teeth?
Hey, we're not talking about false teeth, Spenny. I think going on back to Isak, I think Isak, for me, if he's not, for my top 2 would Shearer and Ferdinand, then Beardsley and Cole, and then I would put in 5th.
That's right.
Right now, I think he's a better footballer than Andy Cole. Andy Cole was amazing goal scorer. Honestly, I think Isak's better for me, and plus Isak's not played for Man United. You know what I mean? So he can do one. I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be a better player than Ferdinand. So you cannot put him up against Shearer. It's unfair to put anyone up. But what Shearer's got and what Shearer didn't have, Isak's got, and vice versa. You know. So I think he's world class now. Shoot me down if anyone disagrees. You know, but I do.
No. Listen, it's all about opinions, and that's the most important.
I'll just say real quick, Steve. I think he's a better footballer than Les Ferdinand. Les Ferdinand was a ball in the box, head, all the rest.
Great striker.
Yeah, but it's like you said.
I'll just agree, Kev. I think Ferdinand give you more on the head and the ball. Give you a lot more. Yeah, he keep his pace and he give the Shearer the link up. Yeah, right. A lot more on the head and the ball and the goal.
But what I would,
but he's not. He's not the footballer that Isak is he?
Yeah. No. What I would say is Spenny on Les Ferdinand against Isak, 1-on-1 with a keeper, Isak scores every time. Les used to miss a lot one-on-one with a keeper, and that's where Isak is ahead to for me with Les Ferdinand. The
only thing that surprises me
a lot.
The only thing that surprises me all about Isak this season is he hasn't had an hat-trick. You know.
Before we go on to George, I just make the difference as well. What I was saying, Isak on Saturday was going back and defending, being a defender, not just a striker as well. In my age, you never saw a striker go back and do that, did you? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good point. Okay, George, you have probably seen, well, you definitely have seen more of those players that I read out on that list earlier on than
most of them, except the ones in the early years. Isak's world-class player now. I have no doubt about that. He's got a touch that none of the others, including my beloved Jackie Milburn, never had. And if they had, they'd have scored even more goals. Better touch than Shearer's ever had. But to put him in where you put him in terms of club records, this sort of thing. Remember, we're talking about Shearer, 7 years top goal scorer. Jackie Milburn, 7 years top goal scorer. Would have been 8, except he was robbed 1 year by George Robledo, another name that you mentioned. 90 goals, 3 seasons, poor fellas. 3 seasons. And the year that Robledo beat him to top scorer, Robledo scored 32 goals and Milburn 28. Imagine that in one team. I mean, it's just unbelievable. No, Isak has the ability, and if we nurture him and give him the opportunity, the players around him, he's got the ability and the skill to smash lots of records at Newcastle United. And I hope I'm here to see most of it. But his touch, he has remarkable intelligence. Watch the guy when he takes a penalty. Watch his you can see him thinking what's going through it, and some of his interviews are class as well. And why did we buy him and the others didn't? Well, we took the recommendation of a little-known striker called Isan Ibrahimovic, one of the best strikers in the world. Yeah, even when I've had a couple of cups of tea. Yeah, But that was our recommendation, and that's why we took him. And Ibrahimovic was singing his praises that he was going to be the best that there was in Sweden or anywhere else. So it's 63 million now. He looks like a snip. Now, greatness, I think, has to have a bit of longevity to it. Yeah, so, yes, he's up there at the top at the moment, but he has the potential in 4 or 5 years. If he was to stay 6, 7, 8 years, we'd be building another bloody statue outside the ground. That's how good he is. I think he is, anyway. And
I agree.
Yeah, good conversation about how strikers have varied, about the different styles of play now. Go back to Jackie Milburn. Jackie Milburn was as good a right winger as he was centre forward. In fact, a lot of people used to think he should have played right wing for England when Matthews was doing it all the time. But he got in as centre forward instead. There's lots to think about, but his touch is just remarkable for a striker. And every time he gets the ball, he excites me. And you're right. I'm disappointed when he doesn't score as well. You expect something to happen when he's on the ball, and that's the sign of a great player. There's no doubt about that. And his goal on Saturday, that first goal, flattened Sheffield. There's no doubt about that. It was real class. It was the pace. He just looked up and knew where he was going to hit it, and
it was the only place he could put it, wasn't it, George?
Absolutely. Anywhere else, it was either going to be saved by the goalkeeper or kicked off the line by a defender. No, great player. But when you're talking about greatness in the long term, he needs to have a couple more seasons behind him. But I can't wait to see what else he do, especially if we put some more good players around him.
Yeah, that's why he needs George. And
just a quick one, Steve, before we go to break or anything like that, I'd just like to add, I know Callum Wilson's record has been obviously said on the show, but I've been a bit embarrassed about Callum Wilson's record, to be honest, because of the funding of Ashley. That's the reason why he didn't score many goals and why we didn't get more goals, because of how neglected Newcastle United was over them years.
Yeah,
I agree with Spenny. Well said.
It is a good point. It is a good point. This is a pre-recorded show. If you're wondering why we're not looking at the messages, etc., and that's why the lads keep saying last week when we're talking about the game, which has just happened against Sheffield United, the show has been pre-recorded. That's why we're talking about things which are not revolving around the game you will have just watched at the weekend. We're going to have a quick break, and we will be back after this. Big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria, their website mrvickies.co.uk, Telephone 01768 210 102 or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers in our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel and click share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today. Don't forget as well, the end of season due 20th of July, tickets at tenner, Super Matt and Gibbo, Ask George and the Long Sands on stage in aid of Dementia Matters. Tickets are £10 from nufcmatters.com or newcastlelegends.com. And if you haven't had enough of listening to my dulcet tones, you can get us on the Northeast Footy Brekkie Show, 7 o'clock till 9 every morning from the tuneuk.com. Join me, Rye from the Borough Fan and Ted the Mackham. It's always a good laugh, 7 till 9 in the morning. And another event we've got coming up as well, an evening with Rob Lee, and that will take place at the City Hall, 2nd of August. Tickets are available now on ticketmaster.co.uk. Thanks to Rob Maltman for designing that flyer. Okay, we are going to move on to a different topic. Second topic for today is testimonials, lads. Testimonials. And why we're talking about testimonials? Well, because Paul Dummett is coming up to 10 years at the club. Now, in the old days, a player that had played 10 years at the club would get a testimonial, a benefit game, which used to go towards that, looking after the player when they retired. It was an earner for the player. In recent years, we've seen some big testimonials, probably none bigger than this man's. Alan Shearer's Newcastle United 11 against Celtic. An amazing night, 11th of May 2006. Wow, really that long ago. But that was a hell of a night. Televised as well on ITV4. 52,000 was it 52,000 there? I'm not sure if the ground was up to 52,000 then. I'll have to double check that out. But it was a full house. The noise was electric. A great night. In recent years as well, Steve Harper was probably the last one to have a benefit game. Both him and Alan giving the money away to charity. Steve chose various charities. Alan gave his all to the NSPCC. Kevin Keegan, auf Wiedersehen, Kev. Newcastle United versus Liverpool. Didn't play 10 years at the club, but had an amazing effect at St James's Park. Ando, the old-fashioned one, 10 plus years at the club. He got a testimonial. It was well-deserved. And Spenny sorted this one out. Kenny Wharton's testimonial. Probably best known for a couple of things that happened there. First of all, Kevin Keegan came back as after he'd packed in as a player. It was his first visit back to St James's Park since he'd left in the helicopter. I remember an emotional speech by him talking about, how badly the club was being run, and this club, the fans didn't deserve it. Of course, a few years later, he was back in the dugout as manager over St John Hall. I think what I remember about that game in particular was what you can see on the programme there. Newcastle United's cup final team from '74 played the Sunderland team from '73. Pre-match entertainment. That was brilliant, that. And I have still got the news reports on that, so I will stick them on the channel so you get a chance to see that. That was a fascinating experience. Going back a little bit more in time again, Rob Lee, he had one, which I didn't enjoy that one as much as I've enjoyed others that I went to. But again, a great way to pay respect to the servant. And one that I wasn't at, I don't think any of us were at, but I know George probably was at least around. War Jackie's testimonial match.
Yes, I was there.
At St James's Park. Amazing. I've got the programme. I'm pleased to say I wasn't at the game. But if Doctor Whoever comes calling in his TARDIS, it's a game I'll go back to. Players who haven't had testimonials. Steve Howie, 13 years at the club, never got a testimonial. Shola Ramiobi, the Mackham Slayer, he's in the top 10 greatest top 10 goal scorers of all time at Newcastle.
His testimonials alone, isn't it?
Didn't get a testimonial. Stephen Taylor, the man who invented lying behind walls and light winding the Mackhams up, didn't get a testimonial.
With a football as well.
Yeah, exactly. So of course, Paul Dummett is going to be the latest in a long line of players to reach 10 years at the club. Will he or won't he get a testimonial? Does he deserve a testimonial? Do testimonials have a place in the modern game, Chippers? Over to you.
Well, there's a few things I want to say before this. Didn't Peter Beardsley have one against Celtic as well? Because I'm sure Andy Cole came back and played for it, didn't he?
Pedro did, yes, you're right.
Yeah. Secondly, it's my 10th year anniversary at the company I'm at now. So am I getting a testimonial? I hope so. Probably not, but I'll get nothing.
We play for you then.
What?
Yeah, we'll come and play for you.
Yeah.
You're having a match.
There's a football
You'll
field.
be on the bench, Steve.
Yeah.
Yes, mate, I can cope with that.
I don't think I've got 90 minutes in me, so I might have to come on and come off, kick off and do a penalty or something like what Sheila did. But
the big question is, would they call George a ringer, being an ex-Newcastle player?
I think you're allowed to have one. I think we'll have one.
I tell you what, I bet George could still run rings around all of us, pal. Useless buggers.
The Dummett situation, you know what? When you spoke to us before about it, this got us thinking about it, because I thought, nobody's really made a big deal over testimonials. It used to be a thing back in the day, but I think with modern day football now, it's rare you see players put 10 years in at a club. The thing with Dummett is, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it, fair enough, in the summer, because our owners are like that now, where they seem to care about the players that have been here, whether they've played every game or they've been a part of the squad. He's done his dues. Yeah, he's had a lot of injury problems and things like that, but he has done 10 years here, and he's probably had chances to move and he's said no. But the one thing I will say is, if you go to a poacher club and say, do you fancy coming to do Paul Dummett's testimonial? No offense to Barcelona or Madrid, they're going to go who? Because no disrespect to him, but he's only played 1 or 2 games a season the last 2 or 3 years, and I think that's where the stumbling block is. If he'd played 20,
but I bet we'd fill it out, though, Chippers, whoever they were playing.
I will fill it out, no doubt about it, but I think that you're looking at who the draw of who will come and play. There's the opposition, as opposed to, you might get a Wales international team because he played for Wales, didn't he? You might get a Wales 11 or something like that. You could have Bellamy and all them playing now, because something like that. But that would be my only concern, is the opposition of who, for the level of what Paul Dummett was. And yeah, he's been a good servant, but I do think if he played a more consistent basis over the last 3 or 4 years, as opposed to a couple of games, then yeah, I would say we'll get a decent turnout for it. But it's a difficult one for me, because you want to wish a player well and say thank you, but he hasn't really played enough for me to warrant it, as opposed to, you look at what Shearer did. He played 30, 40 games on a consistent basis, where he had his injury, but he did it on a consistent basis. He did, and I think a lot of us probably think that Paul Dummett should probably be moved on 2 or 3 years ago or something, maybe longer, because of his injury record, and that he's just taking up the space in the squad. So I think that's probably why he shouldn't get one. That's not me bad mouthing him or anything. I just think that's how it is, unfortunately. But You know, you see players like Amiobi who, Ian, shut up, man. I mean, but I just think, yeah, it's Monday football. I mean, as I've said, I think our owners are quite capable of saying, yeah, you'll get a send off, but I personally think, you know, as the football moves on, it's time to. I'd say there's less heart in football now, is what there was. There's more case of, yeah, you've done your job, but go when it's go on good terms, as opposed to you'll get a football match to let you go. So I'm 50-50 on it. I would take it. I wouldn't mind it, but I don't mind if it doesn't, as long as he goes on good terms.
Agree.
Okay, Alan, what's your thoughts on testimonials, mate? I mean, we grew up with them.
Yeah, of them testimonials, Steve, I think only went to Rob Lee's, and to be honest, there was only about 20. I think it was that Atletico Bilbao, if I remember rightly, Steve.
It was a weird. I mean, that's the one thing. Sorry to interrupt you, but we always seem to pick weird teams.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm a bit like Chippers in a way. Half of it says no, half of it says yes. But to be honest, I think football's moved on, lads, and I hate to put it down to pounds, pennies, and pence, but the players today, it was meant in the past to give them a good send-off, money terms, so they could survive, because there wasn't the, George will know him better than anybody. The ex-players in the 70s and 60s opened up a corner shop, a newsagents, or run a pub, because they didn't earn the money they do now. And the players today, unfortunately, like Paul Dummett, he will be a multi-millionaire, lads. No doubt about it. He'd be on 20, 30 grand a week. And anybody worth their salt would be putting a lot of that back and putting it in housing. I mean, as far as I can get that, just a rumour, lads. Sure Amiobi owns half of Jesmond. So, housing stock. So I know I'm getting off the fact of testimonials, lads. I'm sorry. But I'm like Chippers. If it didn't happen, I would say wish him all the best. He's been a great servant, and wish him all the best. And if he did something like for charity, I think a lot more people would come to the event and pay their due respects, like Shearer did and things like that. But I think the days of testimonials are gone, lads. I think, me personally.
Yeah, there's an interesting stat. 18,189 turned up for.
There wasn't many, Steve.
That was down. That was definitely down, I think, to the fact that they picked Bilbao. Maybe I just don't think.
Also, Steve, I think the price was a lot. Steve, I think it was £25 then, and it was like equivalent to about £50 a day, I would say.
Yeah,
I think it was a lot.
More turned up. Here's Kenny Wharton. 20,000 fans turned up at Kenny Wharton's. And
again, I put that down to the lads didn't just. That was Premier League. The wages snowballs, Steve, when the Premier League took over.
Yeah, good point. Okay, Spenny, you'll have been to a few of these, the same as me. I mean, I went to Beardsley's, I went to Rob Lee's, I went to Kenny Wharton's, I went to Shearer's. I mean, they are good occasions. You take them with a pinch of salt. But is Alan right? Has time moved on? Do we not? I mean, yeah, I can imagine people groaning when I say Paul Dummett, he's reached 10 years, he should get a testimonial. I'm not saying that I think he should. He's been loyal to the club, but he hasn't played as many games in the last few years. Some would say that's not his fault, he's been injured. But are we, Steve Howie, should he have had one? He was part of a great team.
I agree with Alan in bits, I disagree with Alan in bits. I think we should have testimonials, yes, not for the players' benefit. We should have for charities, like you did with Steve Howie, Steve Harper, Steve.
Yeah.
It should be a charity event, like the Alan McGregor ones at Rangers. Last season, we played Rangers away to me, and his testimonial, and absolutely fantastic. Our Rangers get it all out and all, just to say goodbye. Mm-hmm. Fair enough, Alan McGregor's a different gravy to Paul Dummett. He's been in goal for how many years, loads of years and all that. But it gives respect for the player, it gives respect to the fans as well, and giving their charity in as well. Fair enough, I agree with you, Alan, about, yes, Premiership wages and all that. The player should get a payoff. Maybe he's put a charity event on and goes to charity. He's named on charity. which could be a lot better, and you get to like a shield or something or something primitive of the game. But like you said, in the old days, footballers would pay the same as the pitmen, really. Back on the old days, that's why they got testimonials, because it was like you pointed out, you open shops and pubs, and they never got guest appearances like you do now, and things on TV and all sorts. It's a big thing of football now. But I will go ahead now. We'll do a testimonial like you did for Steve Harper, like a charity event, and it gets people involved and gives a chance to kids to go to the match as well and see Newcastle at a young age.
And get a chance to see, legends of the game. That was what it was all about. Seeing, and Keegan, I mean, there we go again. Tyneside ground, St James's Park was packed, 36,000 for Beardsley's benefit match. Celtic beat us 3-1, but Keegan came and everyone was chanting Keegan's name. So it just shows you.
Like I said, Steve, Celtic's a big draw. If you get Celtic as a testimonial, they'll bring loads. You bring Rangers testimonial, they'll bring loads. The fans are passionate like us. The same sort of fans. They'll go anywhere where Newcastle players or Rangers go or Celtic. Big following.
It's only Northumbria police who aren't happy when they come to town. Darren, testimonials, mate. Did you go to them? Do you like them? Do you think they're a thing of the past?
I think they're a thing of the past now, Steve. It's no more loyalty in football anymore. Paul Dummett, he had a testimonial. I wouldn't entertain it because he's just been sitting there taking the money. He's had the ambition to go really well. Else he wanted to play football. He would have went somewhere else to play football. Yes, he's a local lad. He's done good for himself. But if he had a testimonial, I wouldn't entertain it because who's gonna get it? Which team? But it's like who said it? Only depends what team he gets. He's got to get like say a Rangers, Celtic, but even then, like I don't know, it doesn't even tickle me fancy going to it.
I've just had news coming through from Paul Dummett. He says he doesn't want you to come to it, Darren, if he gets it.
Sorry, if I can.
Even though shorty,
it doesn't take us. It's testimonial. If he gets one, he gets one. But to me, I'll be a bit embarrassed on his behalf. He gets one. But he hasn't been. I would say he's been not even a RE player.
What about Steve Howie? I mean, like it's an example.
Steve Howie was a good servant, and
it's a good example. I mean, it's a good example. Steve Howie, he was part of the entertainers team over 13 years. Experience, but
he played a lot more games than Paul Dummett.
Freddie Shepherd didn't want it. Freddie Shepherd, it was a financial reason that he didn't get it. I can't remember the exact story. If you watch some of the interviews I've done with Steve, like out and about,
because how he got transferred and got a fee.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. That's it. Exactly it. So I mean, there was a reason, but it's disappointing that he didn't get one because that would have been a great one. I'm sure I would have had
the Mackenzie didn't get one. To be fair.
See, I wouldn't. You see, I don't think Shola deserved one. But if
he's on the Paul Dummett though, he's never had any ambition to leave, even though he wasn't playing. Like if he wasn't playing, can yourself and get the first team football.
I don't think Paul Dummett deserves one. I don't think you should get one for 10 years service. I think 10 years where you're a Peter Beardsley, you're a Rob Lee, etc. But I don't think you could give every single person a testimonial.
I would you see. I don't think he does deserve one. He's been here 10 years, so what? That's his fault.
If you're going to talk about Steve Howe, you might as well talk about Shea Given. He was there 12 years.
That's another great example. Shea Given, a great servant of the club. Again, didn't get a testimonial for whatever reason. So
it went on for a fee.
Yeah. Mike Ashley, that's your reason.
It's all about the loyalty of the club and stopping the club, isn't it? Shea came back and played for the club, didn't he? And stopped.
Yeah. That's a good point. Kevin, testimonials. Were you a fan of them? Did you like them when when we had them on a regular basis? Does Dummett deserve one?
I don't think he deserves one for a testimonial. You celebrate greatness, and I had the pleasure of working at the stadium when Alan Shearer had his for the and all the hoopla around it and everything. I worked there and said he's after dinner up and everything like that. So again, if you are there for like 10 years plus, but it depends on how that 10 years goes, that's when we celebrate you. Yes, we'll thank you for your service. Yes, we'll give you a goodbye. But if, again, I had the pleasure of working under Alan Shearer, but at the same time watching him and breaking the goal scoring record whilst I worked at the stadium, that was one of the best nights of my life. And I cried whilst I seen that great man leave our football club. So I think it's measured on certain different levels. So if you're going to give Paul Dummett one, then everybody should have one. But again, like we talked about Isak earlier, if you're going to have longevity within a football club, but you have to have consistent performance, you have to have some quality about you, to not deserve one, that's the wrong word, but to not even earn one, but the club to recognise you. He's been sitting on the treatment table for probably half of his career at Newcastle United. Does that deserve a testimonial? Again, Shay Givens, maybe the Steve Howies, yes, maybe Shola, but the Alan Shearer one, based on goal scoring record, pretty much snapped his knee when Julio Orca fell on him. And then somehow, obviously because he's the greatest goal scorer the Premier League's ever seen, yes, that's when you do one. That's when you put everything you have into it. Yes, the new owners could potentially have one for him, but again, it'll probably be at Kingston Park with a crowd of 4,000, which is not going to be a moneymaker. So the Alan Shearer one was the best thing I've ever experienced in my entire life in terms of the whole experience. George talks about the Magic Weekend. It was the greatest night I've ever worked in my entire life at the club. Like I said, I was standing beside the general manager of the hospitality, and he was looking at me and saying, "Get back to work, son." I was like, "No, I'm watching the greatest ever footballer that's ever lived for Newcastle United. In this moment, you can fire me right now. I don't really give a crap. You can fire me right now." And I had tears coming down my face. So if it's, again, we're talking high regard, it's upper echelons of people who need to have it. But again, I think it's gone out in modern football. I know the like the Liverpools of the world and this and that, they do certain things like legend matches and things like that. Yeah, go for it. Do that. Have a legend match. Shearer or whoever, Rob Lee's in the world. So I think that's the way it's going versus a testimonial, and then have every penny that's brought into the club going to, like Spenny said, going into a charity, going into separate charities or whatever that looks like. So I think they're done, but that's just a personal experience for me. I think that it was a brilliant experience, but don't think it's ever going to happen again.
Steve, what would change my mind, Steve, if we won the Premier League? The team that's done that would have a testimony. Every single one would have a testimonial in mind.
What if Dummett gets a new contract?
By the time the show goes out, by the time the show goes out, he may well have got one. Ian, thoughts on testimonials?
Get what all the lads are saying.
Yeah,
but I disagree on this one. How many players do you see stay at your football club for 10 years nowadays? Not that many.
He had
all right, but he's been injured. Yeah, he's been injured a lot, but there's a reason he's had new contracts time and time again. He's obviously a proper influence in the squad. What I would say is I completely agree with Spenny. It's not about putting money in his pocket. The lads, I've just had a quick look, then he's on 35 grand a week, which is a lot of money, for practicing to play football. I completely agree. But our football club now is different to what it's been for the last decade and a bit. The football club now, I see they are the way when I look at my business, when I look at business, I always think act local, think global. So you act like you're one of the people, which is what our club I think is they're trying to do. Sometimes they fail, but they're trying to engage with us as the local people, but they're thinking global, yeah. And I think that this is an opportunity for them to turn around and right the wrongs that have been done. So the likes of Steve Howie, the likes of Shea, the likes of Shola, who all for me bloody hell, they should have had testimonials. For me, the lot of them, they could do a testimonial where it's for Dummett's done 10 years and those lads as well. You'd pack the place out. It all goes to charity. Who's losing out? People who are dying to get into the ground, who can't get a ticket for love nor money, can get in. You know what I mean? Yeah. It will, if you put in there, like the likes of, if you're talking like Steve Howie, Shea Given, they're going to draw in some big names.
Great point.
Give Dummett his credit. Was it Man City where he made one of the best tackles I've ever seen in my life last season? I think it all started this season, was it? Where he was playing at centre back and everyone, including myself, was like, "What the is going on here?" And he made one of the greatest tackles I've ever seen on a football pitch. The lads. For me, he's been a good servant of the club, and there's nothing. We're not losing anything by doing it, and it shows a bit of class for me. Yeah, all right, he's not an Alan Shearer, but he's still played for us for over a decade. So,
on the same point, Ian, Steve, forgetting the left back that moved to Liverpool, and he took it.
Alan Kennedy.
He said, that point, what you're mentioning, Ian, he said when he took ill, he obviously had finished with Liverpool. Liverpool looked after him brilliantly.
Oh no,
Ray Kennedy.
I just think it's an opportunity
he didn't get a thing off the club. Newcastle never batted an eye to help him. He says, I got everything off Liverpool when I left Liverpool. He says it showed you the clash
Alan
between
Kennedy.
the two clubs, obviously under Ashley.
Players
remember that.
I just don't think you justified testimony. I just
wrong. I agree down to a degree, but I've been persuaded by Spenny and Ian's arguments, actually.
Yeah.
I know, but it's like good players or great players deserve a testimonial.
True.
Yeah, he's neither. He's none of them. He's just been
I think maybe a player who has a serious injury, who's been a good servant, who's somebody who's let's say Dummett ends up with, you don't want it to happen, but if something had happened to a player who'd served 10 years, maybe that's a reason to have one. But I don't think the club will do them anymore. I've got to be honest. George, you've seen a few. We'll finish off with you, George. What's your views on testimonials, mate?
Well, it's changed, hasn't it? The older ones got it because they needed the money.
Yeah.
A week after Bobby Mitchell's testimonial, he was the manager of the Lockside pub in Cochrane Park.
Yeah.
David Craig, one of the best right backs we've had. 2 weeks after he finished his right back in Newcastle, he had a news agent in North Shields. That's the difference. Now they've got enough money to buy what they want. So if they're going to have them, but do a charity thing. That what the lads are saying is absolutely right. Paul Dummett, I think you're being a bit harsh, lads. He's 10 years. I can't remember seeing a game Paul Dummett go on that pitch and not give 100%.
I would agree with you on that. Yeah,
100%. Always.
Yeah.
Yes, he's been unfortunate with injuries, but when he's been on and did his absolute best for her. And even sometimes at centre back, as somebody's already said. The other thing is, the rule says 10 years testimonial. It doesn't say 10 years great testimonial. It says 10 years testimonial. So, you got to rewrite the rules if you don't want that. But past and gone is my view. Testimonials, unless there's a specific charity involved or the player wants to do something for a specific charity, then fine. And not all the testimonials have been harmonious. Jackie Milburn's testimonial, these opposition, every player in the team that played in the opposition were players that stuck 2 fingers up to Stan Seymour when Stan Seymour was the manager. Now, that's true. That's true.
Brilliant.
So, that's life. Steve, did you get that picture I sent you?
Oh, I did. I haven't loaded it onto the system, so
All right.
keep talking, and I will do just before we go.
It's my testimonial at the university. Is the picture that I sent Steve. But yeah, the football testimonials. There's been some great ones, but as I say, 9 times out of 10, it's because the player needed the money. You can't say that about any of the players these days. And there's the testimonial. And see what it says on the screen. Testimonial for 60 years. 60 years as an employee of the University of Newcastle upon Tyne. Didn't give us a golden boot, they gave us a golden propeller. And that's my dear Marjorie and my wonderful son Neil beside me. So I did get a testimonial, but it was something quite different. So yeah, it's a question that doesn't beg a question really, because they all get enough money at the salt of the way. They're all, as somebody said, they're putting it in property. They're doing all sorts of things now. Where the great players, Jackie Milburn, week after his testimonial, was writing for the News of the World as a columnist, as a newspaper writer, all of that sort of thing. So it's a different world now. And so different scenario. So for charity, yes, but other than that, I wouldn't be thinking about it nowadays.
Great show, Kev. Thank you, George, Ian, Darren, Spenny, Alan, Sam. Makes a difference talking about something completely different. But that is your fans forum for this week. We will be back 6 o'clock next week talking about the match.
Newcastle's 1-2-1.
I hope so. I hope so.
I hope so, Darren, as well.
Cheers, lads.
Take care, lads.
Everybody.